Shaun Connors.
Thank you very, very much. And it's nice to be back on television. I was standing down in the pub down the road, and this fella seemed a bit lost. I says, would you like a drink? No, he says, I don't drink. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. I said, would you like a cigarette? No, he says, I don't smoke. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. I says, what about a game of cards? I says, don't play cards. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. I said, well, what about a game of pool? He says, I don't play pool. He says, I tried it once, I didn't like it. As a matter of fact, he says, I wouldn't be here at all, only I'm waiting on my son. I said, your only son, I presume. But you do get fed up with Christmas, people coming looking for Christmas boxes. The bin man knocked on my door, he says, Happy Christmas, I'm the man who empties your bin. He says, Happy Christmas to you. He says, I'm the fellow who fills it. One of the kids come up, he says, Daddy, he says, I don't want a bike for Christmas. He says, why is that? He says, I'm after finding one behind the wardrobe. I have another little lad and he's always swearing, so this year I said I'd fix him. I said I'd fill his stocking full of horse manure. Christmas morning, my little daughter woke up, she says, I got a dolly, and she goes, says, I got a horse and he's gone. You know, remember years ago, Christmas, you didn't get big presents. I remember one year I got an empty box. I said to my father, what's that? He says, Action Man Deserter. It's true. Making me confirmation, my mother couldn't afford a new suit. Bought me a new cap, let me look out the window. I was the unlucky fellow making me confirmation. I was asked a question by the bishop. He says, do you know the Angelus? I says, I do. He says, say it. He says, bong, bong, bong. You remember years ago your mother would say, go down to the butcher shop for a sheep's head. Ask him to leave one of the legs on. And I was always stupid. I went down and said, Mister, me mammy said, have you got a sheep's head? I'm going to leave the eyes in because it's got to see us through the week. Who remembers the overcoats over the beds? Remember that? Your mother, up downstairs. Mammy, Joey's kicking the overcoat off the bed. Shut up, your Auntie Mary's down here. It's not an overcoat, it's an eider-down. 10 minutes later, Mammy, Joey's pulling the sleeves and the buttons out of the eider-down. It's true. I went over to England recently. I was standing at the airport collecting my ticket. The girl says, where would you like to sit? I says, in the black box. It's only a joke. Sitting on the plane, the hostess is handing out the landing cards. The carrier says, what are them? I said, the landing cards. You got to fill it in. You won't be off the plane. He says, give us your pen. Name, Mickey Delaney. Address, 23 Main Street, Bannock, County Kerry. Age, 36. Sex, once in this environment. Well, we arrived in London. We're walking through London. One of these multi-story apartment blocks was on fire, and there was a Kerry full on top. And the fire brigade with a blanket and shouting, jump into the blanket, save your life. He says, no, I know you fellas, because I'm from Kerry. When I jump, you pull the blanket out of the way. Put the blanket on the ground and then I jump. Well, I went into this pub and this fellow walks up to the bar and he says, pint of Guinness. I said, that's a terrible affliction you got. I said, yeah. He says, every time I talk, he says, I wink. I said, do you not take anything for it like Aspro? Yeah, he says, I do. He says, Aspro is the only thing that works. I said, have you none with you? He says, I'll have a look. And he puts his hand in his pocket, he takes out a packet of contraceptives and puts them in the counter. And he puts his hand in his other pocket, takes out another packet. I said, what are you doing with all these? Well, he says, you know when you go into a chemist, do you have a packet of Aspros? Well, I went down in London, I went into this restaurant and had a nice meal. The waitress came over and says, what do I owe you? She says, 10 quid. I says, there's 25. Says, thanks. Back in the next and I said, what's the bill? Says, 10 quid. Says, there's 25. Back in the next night. Says, much. Says, 10 quid. Says, there's 25. Says, by the way, I'm going back to Ireland tomorrow. Says, you from Ireland? Says, I am. Says, so am I. To what part? Says, Dublin. Says, so am I. She says, what part? It says, Crumlin. She says, so am I. She says, what road? It says, Sundrive Road. She says, so am I. She says, what number? It says, 231. She says, I live next door in 233. I says, I know, your sister gave me that £75 to give to you. Well, we arrived back in Dublin, and we're heading for Ballyfermot. We're going up by Cunningham Road bus depot. We've missed the last bus. I says to the Kerry fella, go in there and rob a bus so we can get home. I said, and get a double-decker so we can smoke. Well, he's gone about an hour. He comes back empty-handed. He says, why didn't you take a bus? He said, there was no 78s in there. He says, why did you get a 21? We could have walked from Inchicore. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to go now, but to leave you with a little thought. In this day and age, most people think it's nice to be important. I think it's far more important to be nice. You've been very, very nice to me. Thank you very much, and God bless.